Hey John, I'm gonna have to do this video in two parts because there's a lot of systems on this trailer. So let's start at the front. So walking in the side door here, this is your chlorine tank, and that's your hot water burner. The blue tank is your soap tank, your surfactant tank, and then the two red tanks are obviously water. So this stuff, the tanks, and the proportioner right here are going to be for your soft wash system. So you'll fill that up with your SH. You should do 12%. There's a drain right there, and I put a valve on this one just because it's chlorine. In case there's any kind of leak in the line, there's a valve on the other side right there, just so you can shut that off. But that line comes all the way down here, runs up to your SH valve, which is your orange one right there. That's your SH, that's your soap. I've got it on off right now. The other valve right here, that's your water. And then the middle valve right here, that's your soap. So that's connected to the soap tank. So between these three dials is how you can do your mixing for your soft wash. I really don't know what the going percentages are. Like I said when I talked to you before about it, that's something to kind of go on the forums and kind of watch some YouTube videos and see what the optimum setup is, because there's so many guys that are doing this that know a lot about as far as the application and the mixture. So that's something you can play around with. And then this is your yellow line that goes back to your soft wash pump back there, and we'll get to that. That'll be the second part of the video. Right here is your hot water burner. So anytime you need hot water, all you got to do is just flick on this switch right here, and then I've got it adjusted all the way hot, but just turn this on, and then when you squeeze the trigger on the pressure washer, it'll kick in. I tried not to ship these with a lot of fuel in it, so it doesn't have any fuel in it right now. It doesn't have any diesel. Takes about just under 4 gallons of diesel, so you want to fill that up. When it gets really cold in your area, you're going to want to drain the water out of the system, because this thing has a burst disc on it. If water ever freezes in it, there's a disc under here that'll burst that saves the burner, saves the coils. And you'll know because when you go to start it up, it'll be spitting water out. So just before you have really cold weather or freezing weather, make sure you drain the water out of the pressure wash system. You don't necessarily have to drain the tanks unless it's going to be sitting for a long time. But if it's just overnight, just turn off the valve to the pressure washer back there, squeeze the trigger, and it'll run all the water out of the system, and you'll be good to go. So that's pretty much the front of the trailer. You have a light right here that's pretty bright. It illuminates the trailer at night. It's pretty bright, LED. Two 200-gallon tanks, 400-gallon total capacity. You can see they're plumbed together right there. And then I'm going to shoot a second part of this video. It'll be right after this. All right. Okay, so moving to the back of the trailer. Here's where all the engines and pumps and reels are. We'll start with the simplest. This is going to be your generator, 3,900 watts. It's got 4 110-volt outlets on the back of it. If anything shorts it out, or maybe one of your cords gets wet, it's going to pop out one of those breakers. You just push those back in. Really easy to start. You just turn on the engine switch right here, and then the choke. Pull the choke out. Choke is right here. Make sure the fuel valve is on, and then just pull start it. Turn the choke off. Let it run for a minute before you plug anything into it. And then you've got electricity. Middle engine is our soft wash system. You can see how big this pump is. This has a very good output for a soft wash system. Starting the engine, same basic deal. You turn on the engine switch. Choke is the middle plastic lever. Fuel valve is the black one. It's on right now, but make sure to turn these fuel valves off anytime you transport. You don't have to worry about the pressure wash engine because it has a fuel pump. But try and make sure to turn off those valves, because if you don't and you drive for a while, it'll flood the engine, and you'll go to pull start it and it'll feel like the engine is seized. So anyway, when you're running, fuel valve on, You can adjust your throttle, which varies the amount of pressure that the pump puts out. There's no throttle on the generator. That's full time all the time. And then you just start that, and then you're good. It's running. It'll start pumping water. Well, your solution, actually, there's your solution hose coming from the proportioner. It'll start pumping your mixture through here. That's your soft wash hose. Quick connect for the soft wash gun. Always make sure when these snap on that they go all the way back down. Here's your soft wash gun right here. And you can see it's got the J-rod, so it's got different tips on it that you can change and quick connect. Getting to the big engine, this is your pressure wash engine. Interesting note that you should remember with this thing is that once you start it, if the valve to it is on, it's going to start flowing water out of the hose immediately. You can run it with the valve off, but just know that that's going to, don't do that for a long time, because then that stops the water going through the bypass, and the bypass is what cools it. When that valve is on and water's running through it, it'll run water through that bypass, but if that valve's off, it won't. So really, that valve, I put that there just in case you wanted to change from your spray gun, which is right here, to your flat surface cleaner. You can turn it off for a minute, cut the pressure to the hose, and then switch from the hose to the flat surface cleaner. But for the most part, that should always be on. And if you're going to start, when you start this unit up, just make sure something's on here, otherwise water's going to flow out of it. And it's pretty strong. As far as starting this, it's pretty easy. Just know the throttle is disconnected on these. They do that from the factory because this engine just runs at a certain amount of RPM for that pump. But same as the other two engines, just choke and then turn the key, start it up. If it doesn't start up right away, you might hear it bog down. If you have a gun on the line right here, just squeeze the trigger real quick, let the pressure out of the system. But normally this thing fires up right away, so you really shouldn't have to worry about that. Couple things to note: when this is running, make sure your soft wash hose isn't in the middle. And oh, I'm glad we got to this. There's a lock right here that you pull out that locks the reel. But if your soft wash system's running and the hose is hanging down, just make sure it's not hanging down in front of the exhaust. Make sure it's over this way, just so it's not that the exhaust pipe isn't blowing on it, because that can get kind of hot. You might be running soft wash and pressure wash at the same time. So if you do that, just peel this hose out a little bit, maybe even loop it over around the fill hose reel just so it's completely out of the way. You just don't want this sitting in front of here and getting too hot. Kind of the same deal as with the pressure wash hose. It's not as much of an issue because how the exhaust is on this engine. So you really shouldn't have to worry about this getting too hot, because it's not gonna want to go over here in front of the exhaust pipe. But just kind of be conscious of that. Fill hose reel, lastly. So I'm going to do something on this today. I'm going to see if I can get the parts. But this is your fill hose. You connect this to your supply and then turn it on, and then it's plumbed to go directly to the water tank. Inside the water tank is a fill valve. So when this fills up too high, that's the door making noise. When you fill up, it gets too high, it'll shut it off so you don't overflow the tanks. The only thing is going through that valve, it kind of slows down the flow. So what I'm going to try and do today, I'm going to try and do a Y right here. So let's say you just need to fill up quickly. I'm going to see if I can put a Y right here, and then you can turn it off going to the valve, to the fill hose valve, the fill valve, and then just have it going straight to the tank so it fills up quicker. So I'm going to try and do that, get that set up today. There's your fuel tank for the pressure wash engine, 6 gallons of fuel. And just know, if you're running the pressure washer without the burner on, it's going to obviously be cold water. When you need hot water, just flick on the burner switch and you should be good to go. So anyway, I'm sure you'll have more questions about how to run this thing, but you'll always be able to get a hold of me. Oh, and one other thing, that's the drain for the back tank. And you can see the drain hose runs right along there. It's kind of tucked over here, but you can use that to drain the back tank. And that's really about it. All right.